I have a feeling all of them want to eat me up because right in the middle of lunch. So good afternoon, everybody. And I'm so sorry we're going to be eating into the lunch time, but we're very excited about the topic and we'll try and keep to time as much as possible. I'll start with a quick introduction. My name is RASHMI. I head HR for Lumen Technologies, and joining me are some really amazing and lovely panelists from the industry. I'm going to introduce them quickly. Harsha. Harsha is the director for HR for LSG Sky Chef. So anybody who's been on a flight would have probably seen her company's name. I have a feeling you'll be very, very popular at the lunchtime. And then we have lovely Shweta here. Shweta is the Senior Director for People Function at HackerEarth. And Nandini. Nandini is the Global Leader for Diversity 360 Culture and Belonging for Hitachi Energy. And you know what? I don't know if it was Asif or if it was AI. Originally, there was this panel full of women, so much for diversity. And so we've handpicked Subrito very, very recently. We just found him in the audience and asked him to join us. So slightly unscripted conversations as well. So thank you so much for all of you to join us. So the topic that was given to us was ethical AI and the intersection with diversity and inclusion, right? So AI is a hot topic. You know, we talk about it in the boardrooms, we talk about it in dinner tables, we talk about it to our employees, we talk about it, like Ravi mentioned, to his 13-year-old daughter. So it's all over, permeated across. The second topic that we always talk about is diversity and inclusion, right? We're talking about how do you make the society a little bit more just, a little bit more equitable. So it's only time and fair that we bring both of those conversations together. And our discussion's primarily going to be talking about that. Kicking off, Harsha, I'm going to start with you, right? As someone who's been in boardrooms and a key decision maker, influencer of decisions, right? And I heard somebody also talk about ethical AI. I think the first panel, right? We were talking about ethical AI. Are there conversations about frameworks around leveraging AI for decision making?
So thank you for the question, Rashmi. Yes, you're right. AI conversations are no longer theoretical. We are all here, 100 plus of us who are talking about AI in action. So AI is here to stay. It helps us make decisions effectively and easily. So we definitely have to embrace that. We can't run away from that. Having said that, in all organizations, it's important to have an ethical framework around it. Otherwise, we get into scenarios where AI leads over humans, right? Which is a situation which none of us want. So one of the ethical frameworks which is very popular, widely known, is 2019 ethical guidelines by the European Commission. What it states is, at the base of AI tool and modeling, we should have a human-centric approach. And there are 4 ethical principles to follow: transparency, accountability, non-discrimination, and data governance. Now, in HR, since all of us are here, we are used to hearing terms like DDI and GDPR. Every organization is following that. So data governance is relatively easier. But it's important that we focus on the other 3 aspects as well. Now, I have few examples here. All the terminologies you might have heard before in the panelists before us. But one of the examples in my last organization was we started reviewing our recruitment models. And the AI started throwing us some data which said, your hiring basis, some of the colleges like IIT, IIMs, XLRI. So we are hiring basis that. But probably somebody who is graduated from a tier 2, tier 3 institution will be great at their work, but they're not getting through because of the AI screening features, right? So having said that, having noticed this discrepancy, it's important to do a feedback correction loop. So change the algorithm to see where we can make the changes appropriate so that there is enough DEI in place. We reach out to diverse pool of candidates. And then we not only rely on AI, we also train our hiring managers to find unconscious biases in their thinking, in their hiring strategies. So AI and human work together in the sense. Another example that I can take is, and the CHRO before me highlighted sentiment analysis. Now, when we do feedback, and every one of us has annual feedback mechanisms in our offices, when we do feedback, there is moodometers, etc. we try and find out, what each individual or what each underrepresented group is feeling, right? There are various experiences that every representation of group will have. Minorities will have a different experience with the same thing, versus somebody who is typically mainstream will have a different experience. So it's important to analyze those experiences and feedbacks, and then have a committee in place akin to an ethics committee, which could be a summation of people from different backgrounds who speak different languages, they have lived different experiences, so that they can understand and evaluate processes, all the data that's coming from all HR processes, and give feedback. The feedback loops becomes very important when we're considering ethical frameworks for DEI.
Thank you. Actually, I don't know if anybody's heard about blind resume screening. That's a concept which is picking up globally quite a bit, because there is a concept that if you have a male resume versus a female resume, the chances of the male profiles getting through is much higher. So they're using AI to just mask the entire CV. So you don't have to sit and mask it. They just mask it, and something called as a blind resume
In fact,
screening.
even the names, right? So in India specifically, when you look at the last name, you can figure out where the person belongs to, right?
Yes.
So it's important to do that when you have mindsets which are going way back, and we are trained to think of somebody just by looking at their names.
Talking about that, Shweta, I'll ask you a question,
Yes.
right? As someone who's in the people function, and given the fact that at the end of the day, it's all data that goes into AI, and who was the person in front of me who said garbage in, garbage out? I think it was Ravi, right? I wouldn't necessarily call it garbage, but then probably it's the data that gets fed. As someone who leads people function, do you have faith that AI can help bridge the gap, especially for marginalized community? Do you feel like we are at a stage where it can help bridge the gap for them?
Yeah. Rashmi, thanks for that. I love AI in the sense that, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I think with all the examples that I've seen, different conferences I've been to in a lot of our HR professional space of work, and in my own work, I've seen that it's going to take over the HR world. There will be jobs lost, but then that's about us moving into, and that responsibility is also on us as HR leaders, perhaps, to ensure that people are utilizing their main mind as humans more. And there are plenty of roles that can be created, or unfortunately the situation is that they have to separate and look for other jobs. That's going to be the case, but that will happen. Now, yeah, huge fan of AI. I think there's huge potential, and a lot of the one statement that echoed from the previous session was that it needs to be a balance, and I'm a huge fan of that. We're going to lose out. We can't be just saying, hey, we're going to be AI first. We will lose out. We are going to, the world's going to turn upside down. It's moving at a very fast pace too, right? And it's not slow. I think someone was saying, and my view there is it's absolutely the pace is really, really fast. So yeah, it needs to be a balance of both. And thereby, I think, and which also I want to reference back to, we will need to use our EQ and SQ even more. AI will be a co-pilot on the IQ to a certain extent. Marginalized communities, yeah, I think there's a huge potential for it. The needle will move on that, but it's going to be so difficult, so tough. Also because the language when it comes to diversity inclusion is kind of evolving, evolving is not the right word, it's going to get very real. The HR world is going to get very, very real. So which means I'll just take one example, I'm being very conscious of time and lunch. But I was recently asked to, I think, give a session to, members of the NGO, as NGO leaders running a non-profit organization. And I think they kind of challenged me when I was taking the session. I used an example saying, or the feedback that I got from the session, it didn't go that great, right, was that, hey, she comes from a place of privilege. Now that is very interesting, because I thought, can I really talk to NGO leaders? We come from the corporate world, right? But sure, there are practices that can be exchanged and collaboratively. I think there's a huge potential for all of us to between different domains to kind of exchange our expertise. But this kind of stayed with me, and even now, right? And I was talking to my partner about this, saying, I'm sitting on this, right? I do come from a place of privilege. And she said, wait, hold on. Let's take a check on this, right? You're a woman, you're underrepresented, marginalized community. You're queer, marginalized community. You also belong to other backward caste, OBC. Sure, you're here, but, and I get the reference, so it's quite relative. Oh my God, so that, and I was like, oh damn, I didn't see it from that lens. So if we as humans, and especially I think it's HR leaders, if we don't get real, we have a very tough job in hand. So yes, to your answer, huge potential with AI, but it's not as an easy task though. I just wanted to kind of make that point.
No, I don't know how many of the HR folks here have systems that capture, for example, sexual orientation or anything besides your binary genders. Any hands up for that? Quite just about 2 or 3, right? So three systems. So the question really goes back to, if we're going to start relying on AI to make some of those inferences and so on and so forth, and that influences our decision, then Nandini, my next question to you, right? Just like humans, because of the set of data that we feed into the systems, AI will also have historical biases, conformational biases. And like, I think it was Surbhi who was speaking who said, right, there is biases in algorithm. How do you think we can beat the biases in AI algorithm, or how will you deal with it to foster inclusion? I'm specifically talking diversity and inclusion.
Great question. Thank you for that one. Am I audible? Okay. And thank you all for being here with us, listening in. To come back to your question, I love to say this fact of life, that human brain is not wired to be inclusive. Meaning, it requires an intentional approach towards being inclusive. And when we hear the word bias, each one of us here comes with a certain set of biases. It could be the social conditioning, it could be the life phases that we've grown into, the educational institutions, to the organizations or industries that we come from. We continue to pick on things that remain in our unconscious, subconscious mind, which kind of colors when we make people decisions. Then we thought artificial intelligence would be something that would help us eradicate that bias. The intention is good, but the way we regulate and govern that and use it to ethical practices is something that requires human intelligence. And to that, let me allude you to the understanding of the acronym AI, artificial intelligence. There's no one common understanding around it. People commonly understand it from an apocalyptic robots in Terminator movies to a customer care chatbots. That's AI. Today, we are all taken to e-commerce. We go and do online shopping, and we see a prompter come in and say, do you want any help? Can I support you in picking up something? So there's AI everywhere. Coming back to the utilization of AI into the scheme of people, and I also kind of try and connect that to the bigger aspect of people, which today forms a key component of ESG, where social and people gets related, right? And if we do not remain intentional in our approach to weed out bias from the algorithms that we build in order to make our life easy as HR, where we use it from the hiring to onboarding, to development, to engaging, and to maybe the digital exit surveys that we use today to hear the people's voice, right? So think of a cohort of homogeneous AI scientists and investors sitting in a room who probably come from the same socio-economic milieu and from the same premier institute, trying to figure out, make a decision around development and design of AI algorithms. it's bound to be bias. The question is, the bias that has already been ingrained into these tools, are we intentional about doing course correction? That requires a focus. The second one is democratization, where we bring in diverse perspective into the room, because I'm for sure many of us in the room still understand diversity as only gender equal to binary female or woman. That's diversity for us, because that's the number we KPI, it's easy to show. But are we measuring any other aspects of diversity which is visibly visible to us? And what about the invisible ones? And let me take you to a step next. What about intersectionality? Let me come back to the common understanding of diversity dimension: gender, female, woman, woman with an invisible disability, woman of color, woman with a different sexual orientation, woman who's a single parent, woman who's domiciled to a country and does not speak the native language. Are the AI algorithms designed to figure out those intersectionalities also? Because when we make people decisions, when we create the succession pipeline, when we look into the promotional trend, when we look into the nomination into leadership roles, when we look into strengthening the succession pipelines, are my data giving me enough of diversity dimensions, including intersectionality, for me to make those decisions? So diverse perspectives in terms of creating decision, designing, development, and regulation is very critical. So democratization is one. Second, being intentional, and as you read the data, and I'm a huge proponent of that, and I say, please humanize the data, because social sentiment is critical, and people respond to certain survey questions depending on the business dynamics, the personal emotion and feelings that I carry at that point in time when I respond to a question. So it's very important that you humanize data as well as you analyze the data to look into the trend and then make those decisions.
Absolutely. And as you were speaking, I was also wondering, should there be even a training given to those AI developers on diversity and inclusion? Because if it's a room full of homogeneous people, absolutely, and if you have a data that does not capture diversity, then it's going to be a lose-lose, right? Our diversity in the table. So, who has been randomly picked from the audience? Sivita, your thoughts about this whole piece? What do you think are the best practices we should think of?
First, the subject. This subject itself, this panel we have chosen. So this subject is a huge. Start with ethics, which is an ocean. Then AI, another ocean. Then diversity, inclusion, which, I believe that 5% of us could able to understand what is actually is this. Eventually, sorry that being a HR fellow, as all they said, we generally show in our dashboard this much females, this much males, this is the percentage, here it is possible. Max to max, as we are spreaded across the country or a few part of the globe, so the region-wise, max to max, that's all. So we are end with this, and this is what our understanding of this diversity, and we are very happy with our dashboard and management. We used to, sense management, we did a good job. Now coming back to this, what is ethical AI and how we should do this and how we should correlate. As my earlier panel and some presentation, I got some point, and which I firmly believe, that AI is nothing but your prompt engineering, how you are putting the prompt in AI, because without human, AI cannot be used. So how it is, just I'll take a very short time to explain this. Couple of days back, we had an annual day, so there is a discussion and there is a, vision statement, vision exercise kind of workshop, being HR we are coordinated. So it was challenge for us that how to diversify the team linked with Panchatantra, like team's name, Akash, Agni kind of thing, how to diversify it, and the team member should be somewhere competency match with the team names. because it was a big workshop of a full day where vision exercise is there, ideation is there, brainstorming is there for the future business excellence and all others. So I asked my team member to put it in ChatGPT and create a team. So what she did, she dropped the entire Excel in a ChatGPT, attach and asked that these are all the theme, prompt engineering, and created a team. Then that what has happened, we feel she has given that this should be diversified and taking care of the inclusiveness, act like an experienced HR or people manager of 20 years. All prompts she has given, but she forget to give the competency of the people. So AI has did what that chat can did. That same prompt when we did along with this Excel sheet with the competency of the people, individual, along with the genders and all others, then we found that if not 100%, 85% correct group they did by simple use of ChatGPT. So I am little in other opinion that it is our problem, our issue is us basically, that we don't know actually how to use AI, how to use AI ethically. As my panel member said that there should be ethics committee. There should be a robust system to review the usage of AI and what is the expectation from AI for the organization level. Also, she told that regarding the back algorithm, that what kind of, because AI, the most negative point of AI, when that system will not get any data to showcase you, they will just hallucinate you. That is the drawback. So I strongly believe that if we design structure, proper manner, ethically, AI for the organization, then there is an immense scope in this, not only in HR role for the entire, like in being an organization, I belongs to a EPC organization, engineering, procurement and construction. So our motto is to implement AI in a full phase by 26-27. So we have started that journey and we have started to educating people first that how to work with the AI ethically, with a proper ethics committee. So that is what my takeaway from.
Thank you so much. You know, it just brought to mind a very interesting piece that I read recently. One of the largest languages that's being used these days is nothing but your emojis, you know. And 78% of the users for those emojis are women. And here's the interesting thing, okay? So there's a consortium, Unicode consortium, which kind of puts standards for all your softwares and stuff like that, right? So if you have an iPhone or an Android phone or any of those phones, you give them a particular code, they'll develop emojis around it. Until 2015, if you were to sort of put something like a runner, it'll show up male runner. If you put, there was no gender mentioned in it. It was male runner, right? If you put a spy, it was a male spy, and so on and so forth. And it was in 2016 that Unicode took a decision, the consortium took a decision that you have to write female runner, male spy, female. So eventually what it comes down to is the data that is there is so skewed to a particular gender that sometimes the system is not able to differentiate. It just picks up what's naturally available. So there's a huge conversation around that. And I am so conscious of time and lunch, and I am also starved. So we will probably wrap it up a little sooner than 30 minutes. Before we wrap it up, I want to ask any of the panel members if they have any thoughts on future trends, or if you have to give the audience one key takeaway, or one thought-provoking question, what would that be? And I'd like each one of you to pick that up.
Okay, so we are keeping it short. All right, so if AI ever gives you a fact that diversity is optional, you know, go back to the AI and say, okay, no, we are all hungry, so this is a biryani reference. So even a good biryani is a mix of spices, right? That's where the magic is. So we have to tell the AI the diversity is important, inclusion is important, belongingness is important. Unless we have that, it's just a sad bowl of rice, right? So hashtag responsible AI, hashtag great biryani.
You miss Hyderabad biryani, don't you?
Ella,
Harsha's
she's
from
Sky
Hyderabad,
Chef. She's forever with
Yeah,
chefs.
that's it.
I was thinking Kolkata biryani.
Shweta, anything from you?
Yeah. I think, and again, because this is on top of my mind, because AI is still human-centric, human is the center of it, there are humans, we are sitting behind AI. The word floating around is AI-first approach. The thought that I would like to, for all of us to kind of question and leave with is probably diverse-first AI approach. If we add those words together, then we'll consciously think when we are sitting behind and trying to learn the data sets and then design those systems. And also, I would also add one more word saying efficiency. Because at the end of the day, all of us are working, there are businesses that we are running, right? AI is also cost. Oh my God, if you want tools, unless, sure, you can also develop your own tools, but that's cost. And cost also means, what is the ROI? Why do you have so many humans in your teams then? Humans plus tool is going to be very expensive. That's another thought that came actually my way in one of the earlier discussions. So that's the thing. I think diverse first AI approach plus efficiency as a word. I know there are so many words, but it's a fact.
I will talk about a simple equation that we believe in Hitachi Energy when we say, when we try and understand diversity, equity, and inclusion, we say diversity plus collaboration equal to innovation, great innovation. So from there, if you kind of, understand, AI is definitely cost plus people, as you rightly said. What could be some of the avenues that HR fraternity can use AI for an optimal use? One, you could definitely leverage AI to make flexible working a true reality with collaborative tools and tools that enable accessibility for disability inclusion. You could definitely leverage AI for engagement and inclusive learning and development programs. And the other thing which I'm very much using at this point in time in the development and design phase is use AI for predictive analysis, which feeds into the future strategic path of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is your people, the part of ESG, because sustainability is key. So with that, yeah, pass it on.
For me, again, I stick on my understanding that it is, again, up to us that how we'd like to use AI, how ethically we'd like to use AI, because AI is nothing but the human brains. It has created by human. It will be moderated by human. So how we'd like to see that, we'll get that. So we need to first change our think process to use or utilize AI, whatever the field is. So that's what my thought process is.
If I can just add, so as leaders, decision makers, we think we want to implement AI in the organization. We start doing that, we take some steps. But because the topic is DEI, we should also go ahead and collaborate with NGOs, with people who are really working with marginalized communities. Because that's where we understand what's the subject matter, right? What kind of lived experiences they are having, what sort of representation do we need. And if we do that collaboration, then our AI is a more mature model.
Agreed. This conversation can go on forever, but we would like to conclude in the interest of time. And as a conclusion statement, I want to read out a quote which is very relevant to ethical AI and intersection in D&I. And this quote is by Fifi Lee. She is the co-director of the Stanford Human-Centered AI Institute. And here's what she says. AI has the potential to be a powerful tool for promoting diversity and inclusion, but only if we are intentional about its design and implementation. by embedding ethical considerations and diverse perspectives into AI development, we can create technologies that truly reflect and serve the richness of our global community. So as HR professionals and leaders, if there's one thing I would urge all of you to think is, what does your data capture? And what is it that's getting fed into your AI systems? Because that's what is going to be the intersection of DI. So thank you so much. Thanks to all my lovely panelists. Thank you, Asif and Dr. Bhatia, for inviting us. It was lovely being here. Thank you.
Just give them a big round of applause, a little harder, because they have put in a lot of effort.